The fluorescent lights hummed softly as Rosa pushed her cleaning cart down the long corridor of Riverside University. It was 6 p.m., and most of the students had already left for the day. The lecture halls were empty now, filled only with the smell of chalk dust and the faint echo of her footsteps. This was her favorite time to work, when the building was quiet and she could take her time making everything spotless. Rosa had been cleaning these halls for almost 16 years. She knew every corner, every stubborn stain, every squeaky door. She had watched thousands of students walk through these corridors, their backpacks heavy with dreams and possibilities. Sometimes she wondered what it would be like to sit in those lecture halls as a student instead of the woman who cleaned them. But life had taken her down a different path, and she had made peace with it long ago. What made everything worthwhile was her daughter, Lily. At 13 years old, Lily was Rosa's entire world. Every evening after school, Lily would take the bus to the university and wait for her mother to finish work. While Rosa cleaned, Lily would sit in empty classrooms doing her homework, surrounded by blackboards filled with equations and diagrams from the day's lessons. Most mothers would worry about their daughters spending so much time in a university building, but Rosa felt it was safe. The security guards knew Lily by name. The janitors would wave at her. Even some of the professors had gotten used to seeing the quiet girl with the worn backpack sitting in the corner of their classrooms. What Rosa didn't fully realize was what those evenings were doing to her daughter. While other kids, Lily's age, were at home watching television or playing video games, Lily was absorbing knowledge like a sponge. She would read the problems left on the blackboards and copy them into her notebook. She would browse through textbooks that students forgot on their desks. She would sit in the university library until closing time, reading books that most adults would find difficult. Lily had always been different. Even as a small child, she would ask questions that surprised Rosa. Why is the sky blue? How do planes stay in the air? What makes the moon change shape? Rosa did her best to answer, but often she didn't know. Their small apartment didn't have internet, and they couldn't afford encyclopedias or fancy educational toys. But Lily's curiosity never faded. If anything, it grew stronger. School was easy for Lily, almost too easy. She would finish her tests in half the time it took other students. Her teachers would praise her work, but they were overworked and underfunded, teaching classes of 30 or more students. They didn't have time to give Lily the extra challenges she needed. So Lily learned to entertain herself, to push herself, to find her own path to knowledge. The university became her real classroom. In the evening hours, waiting for her mother, Lily taught herself things that even high school students struggled with. She learned algebra from problems left on blackboards. She taught herself basic physics from diagrams in forgotten textbooks. She even started reading books about computer programming, fascinated by the idea that you could tell a machine what to do using just words and symbols. Rosa noticed that Lily was smart, of course. What mother wouldn't be proud of a daughter who brought home perfect grades? But she didn't realize just how exceptional Lily's mind was. She didn't know that Lily was working through college-level problems in her notebook. She didn't know that Lily had taught herself calculus by reading a textbook she found in a recycling bin. She didn't know that her daughter's mind worked on a level that only appears once in a generation. Their life was simple, but full of love. Rosa worked hard, sometimes taking extra shifts on weekends, to make sure they had enough money for rent and food. Their apartment was small, just 2 rooms in an old building where the electricity sometimes cut out and the heating barely worked in winter. But Rosa kept it clean and warm. And there were always books from the library stacked on their small kitchen table. Lily never complained. She wore the same 3 outfits to school, rotating them throughout the week. Her shoes had holes in them that Rosa tried to patch with cardboard. Her backpack was held together with safety pins. But Lily didn't care about these things. While other girls her age worried about fashion and popularity, Lily's mind was occupied with logarithms and quantum mechanics and algorithmic theory. At school, Lily didn't have many friends. The other students thought she was weird. She didn't talk about the things they talked about. She didn't watch the popular shows or listen to the trending music. During lunch, while others gossiped and laughed, Lily would sit alone with a book. It hurt sometimes, feeling like an outsider, but Lily found comfort in knowledge. Books didn't judge her. Equations didn't care about her worn-out clothes. One Tuesday evening in October, something happened that would change everything. Rosa was cleaning one of the professor's offices, a small, cluttered room filled with books and papers. The professor, Dr. Chen, was a mathematician who always seemed stressed and distracted. Rosa had cleaned his office for years, always careful not to disturb the towers of papers on his desk. That evening, Dr. Chen had left in a hurry, and he'd forgotten to lock a drawer. As Rosa was emptying the trash, some papers fell out onto the floor. She picked them up carefully, worried she might have knocked something over. The papers were covered in mathematical symbols and diagrams that made no sense to her. At the top of the first page, written in red ink, were the words, "Unsolved. 3 months. And still no breakthrough." Rosa carefully placed the papers back on the desk. But one sheet had slid under the desk. She got down on her knees to retrieve it, and that's when Lily walked in, finished with her homework for the day. "What's that, Mom?" Lily asked, looking at the paper in Rosa's hand. "Just some professor's work, honey. Very complicated math stuff. Help me put it back." But Lily had already seen the equations. Her eyes locked onto the symbols, and Rosa watched as her daughter's expression changed. It was a look she'd seen before, a kind of intense focus that made Lily seem far older than 13. Can I just look at it for a minute?" Lily asked softly. Rosa hesitated. She wasn't supposed to let anyone touch the professor's papers. But this was just her daughter, and it was just a quick look. "What harm could it do? Just for a minute," Rosa said. "Then we need to put it back exactly where it was." Lily took the paper and stared at it. Then she reached for her notebook and started writing. Rosa watched, not understanding anything that was happening. To her, it was just numbers and symbols. But to Lily, it was a puzzle. A beautiful, complex puzzle that she suddenly felt she might be able to solve. "Honey, we need to go," Rosa said after 5 minutes had passed. Just a little longer, Mom. Please." Rosa looked at her daughter's face, saw the excitement there, the pure joy of discovery. So she continued cleaning the office while Lily sat on the floor, filling page after page in her notebook with calculations and diagrams. By the time they left that evening, Lily had covered 20 pages with her work. She didn't say much on the bus ride home, too lost in thought. And for the next 3 weeks, every spare moment Lily had, she worked on that problem. She worked on it during lunch at school. She worked on it in the evenings at the university. She worked on it late into the night by candlelight, when their electricity cut out. Rosa watched her daughter with a mixture of pride and confusion. She had no idea what Lily was working on, but she could see it mattered. And if it mattered to Lily, then it mattered to Rosa too. What neither of them knew was that Lily was about to solve a mathematical problem that had stumped one of the country's best mathematicians for months. And that solution would open doors neither of them had ever dreamed possible. 3 weeks had passed since Lily first saw those papers in Dr. Chen's office. Every night, Rosa would watch her daughter hunched over her notebook at their small kitchen table, writing and erasing, drawing diagrams and crossing them out, completely absorbed in whatever problem she was trying to solve. Rosa worried sometimes. Lily barely ate. She stayed up too late. The dark circles under her eyes grew more pronounced each day. But there was also something beautiful about watching her daughter work with such passion. Rosa had spent her whole life cleaning other people's spaces, making things neat and organized. But what Lily was doing was different. She was creating something, building something with her mind that Rosa couldn't even begin to understand. On a Friday evening, Lily finally looked up from her notebook with tears in her eyes. Rosa's heart jumped. Was her daughter upset? Had something gone wrong? "I think I did it, Mom," Lily whispered, her voice shaking. "I think I actually solved it." Rosa came over and hugged her daughter tight. She had no idea what Lily had solved, but she could feel how much it meant to her. "I'm so proud of you, honey," she said softly. That night, Lily carefully tore the pages from her notebook and placed them in an envelope. She wrote, "Dr. Chen," on the front, in her neat handwriting. The next evening, when they arrived at the university, Lily asked her mother for permission to do something. "Can I leave this under Dr. Chen's door? It's important." Rosa looked at the envelope. She thought about saying no. What if they got in trouble? What if the professor got angry that a cleaning lady's daughter was messing with his work? But then she looked at Lily's hopeful face and couldn't refuse. "Okay," Rosa said. "But we do it quietly, and we don't tell anyone." They walked to Dr. Chen's office together. The hallway was empty. Lily knelt down and carefully slid the envelope under the door. For a moment, she just stayed there, her hand pressed against the door, as if saying goodbye to something precious. Then, she stood up and took her mother's hand. "Thank you, Mom," she said. They didn't talk about it after that. Life went back to normal. Rosa cleaned. Lily did her homework. But Rosa could see that something had changed in her daughter. Lily seemed lighter somehow, as if she'd been carrying a heavy weight, and had finally put it down. 5 days later, on a Wednesday afternoon, Rosa was cleaning the faculty lounge when Dr. Chen burst through the door. He looked wild, his hair messy, his shirt untucked. He was holding the envelope Lily had left, now torn open, papers spilling out. "Rosa," he said, slightly out of breath. "Rosa, I need to ask you something important." Rosa's heart sank. They were in trouble. She knew they shouldn't have touched those papers. "I'm so sorry, Dr. Chen," she started to say. "My daughter, she didn't mean any harm. She just—" "No, no," Dr. Chen interrupted, shaking his head. "You don't understand. This," he held up the papers. "This is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Someone solved my proof. Someone solved a problem I've been working on for almost a year. A problem that some of the smartest mathematicians in the country couldn't crack." Rosa stared at him, not understanding. "The envelope was addressed to me. But there's no name on the solution. Do you know who left this? Did you see anyone near my office? My. 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 Rosa's mouth went dry. She didn't know what to say. Would he be angry if he knew it was Lily? Would he think they were playing some kind of joke? It was my daughter," Rosa said quietly. "Lily. She saw your papers a few weeks ago, when I was cleaning. She asked if she could look at them. I'm sorry if we weren't supposed to." Dr. Chen's eyes went wide. "Your daughter? Lily? The girl who sits in the classrooms?" Rosa nodded, feeling smaller by the second. "How old is she?" 13. Dr. Chen sat down heavily in one of the lounge chairs, still holding the papers. He was quiet for a long moment, just staring at Lily's work. Then he looked up at Rosa with an expression she couldn't quite read. "Rosa, your daughter is not just smart. What she's done here. This is the work of someone with a truly exceptional mind. The way she approached this problem, the techniques she used, combining different mathematical concepts in ways I never considered. This is graduate-level work. This is beyond graduate level." Rosa felt dizzy. She gripped the back of a chair to steady herself. "I need to meet her," Dr. Chen said, standing up. "Is she here now?" "She's in classroom 204, doing her homework. Can you take me to her, please?" They walked through the corridors together, Rosa pushing her cleaning cart, Dr. Chen clutching the papers like they were made of gold. Rosa's mind was racing. Was this good? Was this bad? What would happen to Lily now? When they reached classroom 204, Lily was sitting in her usual spot by the window, working through problems in her math textbook. She looked up when they entered, and her eyes went wide when she saw Dr. Chen holding her papers. "Hi," she said softly. her voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Chen walked over slowly, as if approaching something fragile and precious. He pulled up a chair and sat down next to her. "You're Lily," he said gently. She nodded. "Did you really solve this proof by yourself?" Another nod. "Can you explain to me how you approached it? I need to understand your thinking." And then something amazing happened. As Lily started to explain her work, her shyness melted away. Her voice grew stronger. Her eyes lit up. She pointed to different parts of her solution, explaining her reasoning, showing how she'd connected different mathematical concepts. She used words Rosa had never heard before, spoke about ideas that were completely foreign to her. Dr. Chen listened intently, occasionally asking questions. And as Lily answered, Rosa could see the professor's amazement growing. He would nod, sometimes whisper, "Yes, yes," or, "Of course," as if Lily was revealing truths he should have seen all along. They talked for almost an hour. Rosa stood by the door, forgotten, watching her daughter discuss mathematics with a university professor as if it was the most natural thing in the world. She felt tears forming in her eyes. Not sad tears, but tears of a different kind. Pride, yes, but also something like wonder. Who was this person? This brilliant young woman who had somehow been living in Rosa's small apartment all along. Finally, Dr. Chen sat back in his chair and looked at Lily with something like awe. "Lily, what you've done here is remarkable. Truly remarkable. But I have to ask." Lily glanced at her mother, then back at Dr. Chen. "I taught myself," she said simply. "From books in the library. From textbooks students leave behind. I like solving puzzles. And math is the best puzzle there is." Dr. Chen was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Lily, I need to make some phone calls. There are people who need to know about you. Would that be okay?" Lily looked scared suddenly, and she reached for her mother. Rosa came over immediately and put her hand on her daughter's shoulder. "What kind of people?" Rosa asked, her voice protective. "Good people," Dr. Chen assured her. "People who can help. People who can give Lily opportunities she deserves. Your daughter has a gift that comes along maybe once in a generation. She shouldn't be teaching herself from forgotten textbooks. She should be learning from the best minds in the country." Rosa looked down at Lily, who was gripping her hand tightly. This was everything Rosa had never let herself dream of for her daughter. Opportunities. A real education. A chance at a different kind of life. But it was also terrifying. What would it mean? Would they take Lily away? Would her daughter have to leave her? "We don't have to decide anything right now, Doctor," Chen said gently, seeming to sense Rosa's fear. "But please, let me make some calls. Let me see what we can do." Rosa squeezed Lily's hand and looked into her daughter's eyes. Lily's voice was small but clear. "I want to learn more, Mom. I want to see how far I can go." And in that moment, Rosa knew their lives were about to change forever. The next 2 weeks were a blur of tests, meetings, and conversations that left Rosa's head spinning. Dr. Chen had kept his word and made his phone calls. Soon, other professors wanted to meet Lily. Then the head of the mathematics department came. Then, someone from the university's special programs office. They gave Lily test after test, math tests, logic tests, problem-solving tests. Rosa would sit in the hallway outside the testing room, twisting her hands nervously, wondering if this was all a mistake. Maybe Lily had just gotten lucky with Dr. Chen's proof. Maybe she wasn't really as special as they thought. But every time someone came out of that testing room, they had the same look on their face. Amazement, disbelief, excitement. One professor actually had tears in his eyes. "She's operating at a level I've rarely seen," he told Rosa. "And she's only 13. Finally, on a gray Monday afternoon, Rosa and Lily sat across from Mrs. Park, the director of Riverside University's Accelerated Learning Program. Her office was warm and filled with books, and she had a kind face that immediately made Rosa feel a little less nervous. "I've reviewed all of Lily's test results," Mrs. Park said, looking at both of them. "And I've spoken with Dr. Chen and the other professors who've worked with her. What I'm about to say might sound hard to believe, but Lily is performing at a college level in mathematics and several sciences. In some areas, she's beyond that." Rosa felt her heart hammering in her chest. Lily sat very still beside her, gripping the armrests of her chair. "We'd like to offer Lily a place in our special program," Mrs. Park continued. "She would take classes here at the university, alongside our regular students. We'll create a custom curriculum for her, designed to challenge her and help her grow. And of course, everything would be completely free. Full scholarship, books, materials, everything." Rosa couldn't speak. This was more than she'd ever hoped for. More than she'd ever let herself dream. "There's one thing you should know," Mrs. Park said gently. "This won't be easy. Lily would be the youngest student in the program by several years. Most of her classmates would be 16, 17, even older. The work will be intense. And socially, well, it might be difficult for her." Rosa looked at her daughter. Lily's face was a mixture of hope and fear. Rosa knew that look. It was the same look Lily had when she'd asked to leave the envelope under Dr. Chen's door. The look of someone who wanted something so badly it scared them. "What do you think, honey?" Rosa asked softly. "I want to try," Lily whispered. "I'm scared, but I want to try." That's how, 3 weeks later, Lily found herself walking into her first university class. She wore a new outfit that Mrs. Park had quietly arranged for, paid for by a fund the university kept for students in need. Rosa had cried when it arrived, overwhelmed by the kindness of strangers. But having new clothes didn't make Lily feel any less out of place. She was 13 years old, barely 5 feet tall, walking into a classroom full of teenagers and young adults. Every head turned when she entered. She heard the whispers immediately. "Is that a kid? What's she doing here? Someone's daughter must be visiting." Lily took a seat in the back row, trying to make herself invisible. But when the professor, Dr. Williams, introduced her to the class, there was no hiding. "Everyone, I'd like you to meet Lily. She'll be joining us this semester. Despite her age, she's here on merit, so please make her feel welcome." The looks Lily got after that were even worse. Some students seemed curious, but others looked annoyed. One boy in the front row actually laughed. Lily felt her face burning red. She wanted to run out of the classroom and never come back. But then Dr. Williams started the lecture, and something magical happened. The moment he began writing equations on the board, Lily forgot about everything else. She forgot about the stares, the whispers, the laughs. There was only the math, beautiful and complex, unfolding before her eyes. She took notes furiously, completely absorbed. When Dr. Williams posed a challenging problem to the class, Lily's hand shot up before she could stop herself. The professor looked surprised but called on her. Lily's voice shook as she explained her solution. But as she talked, her confidence grew. She walked through the problem step by step, showing a method that was different from what the textbook taught but equally valid. When she finished, Dr. Williams was staring at her with wide eyes. That's absolutely correct. And that's a more efficient approach than the standard method. Well done, Lily." A few students clapped, but Lily heard someone in the back mutter, "Show off." The next few weeks were the hardest of Lily's life. The academic work was actually the easy part. She loved her classes, loved being challenged for the first time in her life. But the social side was brutal. Most students ignored her. Some were openly hostile. She would find notes on her desk telling her to go back to middle school. In the cafeteria, when she sat down at a table, the other students would pick up their trays and leave. She ate alone every single day. The worst were a group of 3 students, all 16 or 17 years old, who seemed to make it their mission to make Lily miserable. They would mock her in the hallways, calling her the charity case, and the janitor's kid. They would ask loudly if her mom was coming to clean the classroom later. Lily never told her mother about any of this. Every evening, when Rosa asked how school was going, Lily would force a smile and say, "It's good, Mom. I'm learning so much." And that part was true. But she left out the loneliness, the tears she cried in bathroom stalls, the way her stomach hurt every morning before class. Rosa knew something was wrong anyway. Mothers always know. She could see it in the way Lily's shoulders slumped, in the sadness that crept into her daughter's eyes. But she didn't know what to do about it. She couldn't fix this with a hug or a home-cooked meal. 3 months into the program, things came to a head. Lily was in the computer lab, working on a project when 2 of the students who bullied her came in. They started making comments. Louder and meaner than usual. "I don't know why they let you in here," one of them said. "This program is supposed to be for gifted students, not someone whose mom cleans toilets." Lily tried to ignore them and focus on her work, but her hands were shaking. "You know everyone thinks you cheated on those tests, right?" the other one said. "There's no way someone like you could actually be this smart. Probably your mom stole the answers while cleaning the offices." Something inside Lily snapped. She stood up, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. Tears were streaming down her face, but her voice was steady. "My mom works harder than anyone I know," she said. "She works hard so I can be here, so I can have opportunities she never had. And I didn't cheat. I earned my place here. If you spent half as much time actually studying as you do being cruel, maybe you'd understand the material better." The room had gone completely silent. Other students were watching now. The 2 bullies looked shocked that quiet little Lily had actually stood up to them. One of them opened his mouth to respond, but a voice from the doorway cut him off. "Is there a problem here?" It was Dr. Williams. He stood in the doorway, his arms crossed, looking between Lily and the 2 students with a stern expression. "No problem, Professor," one of them muttered. "We were just leaving." After they left, Dr. Williams came over to Lily. She was still crying, trying to wipe her face with her sleeve. "How long has this been going on?" he asked gently. "A while," Lily admitted. "Why didn't you tell anyone?" Lily shrugged. "I didn't want to cause trouble. I didn't want anyone to think I couldn't handle being here." Dr. Williams sighed and pulled up a chair next to her. "Lily, being smart doesn't mean you have to handle everything alone. What those students said to you was completely unacceptable. And I want you to know something. You belong here. You've earned your place here more than most students ever will. Do you understand?" Lily nodded, but she wasn't sure she believed him. That evening, Dr. Williams made some calls of his own. The 2 students who bullied Lily were called in for disciplinary meetings. More importantly, Dr. Williams and Mrs. Park started a conversation about how to better support Lily emotionally, not just academically. They arranged for Lily to meet with a mentor, a graduate student named Kim who had also started college young and understood the challenges. They also organized a presentation for the faculty about the importance of creating an inclusive environment for younger students. Slowly, things began to improve. It wasn't perfect. Some students still looked at Lily like she didn't belong, but others started to see her differently. When she helped a struggling classmate understand a difficult concept, word spread. When she presented her research project and impressed even the toughest professors, people took notice. Lily was learning something important. Her intelligence was a gift, but it wasn't the only thing that mattered. She needed resilience. She needed courage. She needed to believe in herself even when others didn't. And most importantly, she was learning that being different wasn't something to hide. It was something to embrace. Because sometimes, the things that make you different are exactly the things that make you extraordinary. 2 years had passed since Lily first walked into that university classroom as a terrified 13-year-old. Now, at 15, she had found her rhythm. The work was still challenging, but that's what she loved about it. She had published 2 research papers with Dr. Chen's guidance, both of which had caught the attention of mathematicians across the country. But nothing could have prepared her for the letter that arrived one Tuesday morning. Dr. Chen called Lily into his office, and she could tell immediately that something big had happened. He was pacing back and forth, which he only did when he was excited. Mrs. Park was there too, sitting in one of the chairs with a huge smile on her face. "Lily, sit down," Dr. Chen said, gesturing to a chair. "We have news." Lily sat, her heart starting to beat faster. "Your paper on algorithmic optimization has been accepted for presentation at the International Conference on Mathematics and Computing," Dr. Chen said, his voice shaking slightly. "In Geneva. Next month." Lily stared at him, not quite understanding. "What does that mean?" Mrs. Park leaned forward. "It means you've been invited to present your research to some of the smartest people in the world. Nobel Prize winners, leading professors from every major university, researchers from top tech companies. It's one of the most prestigious conferences in the field." "But I'm only 15, Lily said softly. "Exactly, Dr. Chen replied. "You'll be the youngest presenter in the conference's history. This is extraordinary, Lily. This is the kind of opportunity most researchers never get in their entire careers." Lily felt dizzy. Geneva. An international conference. The best minds in the world. It was everything she'd dreamed of, but also absolutely terrifying. "What about my mom?" Lily asked. "Can she come with me?" Dr. Chen and Mrs. Park exchanged a look. "The university can cover your travel and accommodation," Mrs. Park said carefully. "But bringing a guest would be additional expense." "Then I can't go," Lily said immediately. "I won't go without my mom." Dr. Chen smiled. "We thought you might say that. We've already talked to the dean. Your mother will come with you. The university will make it work." That evening, Lily ran all the way from the university to their apartment, taking the stairs 2 at a time. She burst through the door, startling Rosa, who was cooking dinner. Mom, you have to sit down. I have something incredible to tell you." Rosa wiped her hands on her apron and sat at their small kitchen table, looking worried. "What happened? Is everything okay?" "More than okay," Lily said, her words tumbling out in a rush. "I've been invited to present my research at a conference. In Geneva. In Switzerland. And you're coming with me. We're going to Europe, Mom. Together." Rosa's hand flew to her mouth. "Europe? Lily. I've never even been on an airplane. I don't have a passport. I don't have clothes for something like that. We'll figure it all out," Lily said, grabbing her mother's hands. "Mrs. Park said she'll help us with everything. Mom, this is real. This is really happening." Rosa looked at her daughter, at the joy radiating from her face, and started to cry. These were the good kind of tears, the kind that come when something you never dared to dream about suddenly becomes real. The next few weeks were chaos. They had to get passports, which meant finding Lily's birth certificate and navigating government offices. Mrs. Park helped them shop for appropriate clothes, insisting that the university's discretionary fund could cover it. Rosa protested at first, her pride making her uncomfortable with accepting so much help. But Mrs. Park was firm. "Rosa, you've given this university 16 years of service. You've raised a daughter who's bringing honor to our institution. Let us do this for you both." Expon. Lily spent every spare moment preparing her presentation. She practiced in front of Dr. Chen, in front of her classes, in front of her mother, even though Rosa didn't understand half of what she was saying. Each time, she got a little better, a little more confident, but as the date grew closer, the fear started creeping in. Late at night, Lily would lie awake thinking about all the ways she could fail. What if her English wasn't good enough? What if she froze on stage? What if people laughed at her? What if they thought she was just a child playing at being a scientist? 3 days before the trip, Lily had a complete breakdown. She was in her room, supposedly packing, When Rosa heard her crying, she found Lily sitting on the floor, surrounded by clothes and papers, tears streaming down her face. "I can't do this, Mom," Lily sobbed. "I'm not ready. These are the smartest people in the world. What was I thinking? They're going to see right through me. They're going to know I don't belong." Rosa sat down on the floor next to her daughter and pulled her close. "Do you remember when you first started at the university? You were so scared. You came home crying more times than I could count, but you kept going. You know why?" Lily shook her head against her mother's shoulder. "Because you're brave, honey. Not because you're not scared, but because you do things even when you are scared. That's what real courage is." "But what if I fail?" "Then you fail," Rosa said simply. "And we'll come home. And life will go on." "But Lily, what if you don't fail? What if you get up on that stage and you show them what I already know? That you're extraordinary, that you're brilliant, that you're capable of amazing things." Lily pulled back and looked at her mother. "You really believe that?" "With my whole heart." The flight to Geneva was Lily's first time on an airplane, and Rosa's too. They held hands during takeoff, both of them squeezing tight, both of them trying not to show how terrified they were. But once they were in the air, looking down at the clouds, the fear turned into wonder. "We're really doing this," Rosa whispered. "We're really doing this," Lily agreed. Geneva was like a different world. The conference was being held in a grand hotel near the lake, all marble floors and crystal chandeliers. When they checked in, Lily noticed how the staff looked at them, how their eyes lingered on Rosa's simple clothes and well-worn suitcase. She felt a flash of anger, but Rosa squeezed her hand gently. "Let them look," Rosa said quietly. The first day of the conference, Lily attended other presentations, trying to learn from how the experts presented their work. She saw professors from Oxford and MIT. She listened to researchers from Google and NASA. Each one was brilliant, polished, confident, and each one made Lily more nervous about her own presentation the next day. That night, she could barely sleep. She went over her presentation again and again, in her head. Rosa lay in the other bed, pretending to be asleep, but actually praying for her daughter, asking whatever power was listening to give Lily strength. The morning of Lily's presentation came too quickly. She put on the simple blue dress Mrs. Park had helped her pick out, her hands shaking so badly that Rosa had to help her with the buttons. They went down to breakfast, but Lily couldn't eat. Her stomach was in knots. At 10 o'clock, they made their way to the conference hall where Lily would present. It was enormous, with seats rising up in rows that seemed to go on forever. And those seats were filling up fast. Hundreds of people, maybe more than 1,000. Lily stood backstage, peeking out at the growing crowd. She could see famous faces, people whose textbooks she'd studied, whose papers she'd read dozens of times. Her breathing started coming in short gasps. Rosa stood beside her, holding her hand. Lily tore her eyes away from the crowd and looked at her mother. "You've already done the hard part," Rosa said. "You did the research. You made the discovery. You wrote the paper. All you have to do now is tell them about it. Just talk to them the way you talk to me when you're explaining your work at our kitchen table. Forget about who they are. Just share what you love." A conference organizer came backstage. "Lily, we're ready for you." This was it. The moment that would change everything. Lily hugged her mother tight. "I love you, Mom. I love you too, honey. Now go show them what the daughter of a cleaner can do." Lily walked onto that stage on shaking legs. The lights were bright, making it hard to see the audience clearly, which was actually a blessing. She stood behind the podium, looking out at the sea of faces. For a moment, she couldn't remember a single word of her presentation. Then she saw her mother. Rosa had found a seat in the back row, and she was smiling, giving Lily a thumbs up. That simple gesture, so full of love and pride, was all Lily needed. She took a deep breath, looked out at the audience of brilliant minds, and began to speak. "Good morning. My name is Lily, and I'm 15 years old. I'd like to tell you about a new approach to optimization algorithms that could change how we solve complex problems in artificial intelligence, logistics, and climate modeling. Her voice was soft at first, tentative. But as she moved into the material, explaining her work, something shifted. She forgot about being nervous. She forgot about being young. She forgot about everything except the beauty of what she'd discovered and her desire to share it. The equations appeared on the screen behind her. Her hands moved as she explained her reasoning. Her voice grew stronger, more confident. She was in her element now, doing what she loved most, sharing knowledge, building understanding. And in the audience, something remarkable was happening. People were putting down their phones. They were leaning forward in their seats. They were listening. Really listening. To every word this teenage girl was saying. Because what Lily was presenting wasn't just good, it was revolutionary. Lily spoke for 30 minutes, walking the audience through her research with growing confidence. She explained how her algorithm could process complex data faster than existing methods. She showed real-world applications, from optimizing delivery routes to predicting climate patterns. She answered technical questions with clarity and passion. As she reached her conclusion, Lily looked out at the audience one more time. She could see them now, these brilliant minds from around the world. And they weren't looking at her with doubt or amusement. They were looking at her with respect, with interest, with amazement. "Thank you for your time," Lily said, her final slide showing her contact information and acknowledgements, including a special mention of her mother and Dr. Chen. For a moment, there was complete silence. Lily's heart sank. Had she done something wrong? Had they hated it? Then one person started clapping, then another. Then suddenly the entire auditorium erupted in applause. People weren't just clapping politely. They were standing up. Row after row of the world's leading scientists and mathematicians rose to their feet, applauding a 15-year-old girl who had just presented work that would reshape their field. Lily stood frozen at the podium, overwhelmed. She looked toward the back of the room and saw her mother standing too, tears streaming down her face, clapping harder than anyone. That image, her mother's proud face, would stay with Lily for the rest of her life. The applause went on and on. When it finally died down, hands shot up all over the auditorium. Questions came from everywhere. A professor from Stanford wanted to know about her methodology. A researcher from Tokyo asked about potential applications in quantum computing. The head of a major tech company asked if she'd considered the commercial possibilities of her work. Lily answered each question thoughtfully. Some questions pushed her, made her think in new ways, but she never stumbled. She'd lived with this research for so long that it was part of her now. When the session finally ended, Lily walked off the stage on shaky legs. The moment she was backstage, her mother was there, pulling her into a tight hug. "You were amazing," Rosa whispered. But they couldn't stay in that moment for long. People were already gathering, wanting to talk to Lily. Professors lined up to introduce themselves. Research directors handed her business cards. Someone from a major university pressed a folder into her hands. Information about their doctoral program. Over the next hour, Lily was surrounded by some of the smartest people in the world, all wanting to talk to her, to hear more about her work, to explore possibilities for collaboration. It was overwhelming and exciting and terrifying all at once. A distinguished-looking woman in her 60s pushed through the crowd. "Lily, I'm Professor Helen Zhang from Cambridge. Your work is extraordinary. Have you thought about where you'd like to pursue your doctorate?" "I'm only 15, Lily said, still processing everything. "I'm aware," Professor Zhang said with a warm smile. "But in a few years, when you're ready, I hope you'll consider Cambridge. We'd be honored to have you." Later that evening, back in their hotel room, Lily and Rosa sat together by the window, looking out at the lights of Geneva reflecting off the lake. Lily was exhausted but couldn't sleep. Her mind was racing with everything that had happened. "Mom, did that really just happen?" she asked. Rosa squeezed her daughter's hand. "It really did, honey. People were offering me scholarships, full funding for doctoral research. One company wanted to hire me as a consultant. I don't even know what half of it means. Quote, "It means you have choices," Rosa said softly. "It means doors are opening for you that I never dreamed were possible." Lily was quiet for a moment. "Are you scared? About what comes next?" Rosa thought about it. She admitted, "But mostly I'm proud. And excited for you. You're going to do things I can't even imagine. Lily, you're going to change the world. I couldn't have done any of this without you," Lily said, her voice cracking. "All those nights you worked late so I could have books. All the times you believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. This isn't just my success, Mom. It's ours." They sat together in comfortable silence, mother and daughter, watching the night lights dance on the water. The next morning, Lily woke up to dozens of emails. The video of her presentation had been posted online, and it was spreading fast. Thousands of people had already watched it. Then, tens of thousands. By the afternoon, it had over 1 million views. News outlets picked up the story. Teenage prodigy stuns mathematics conference. One 5-year-old daughter of university cleaner presents groundbreaking research. From cleaning halls to making history. Lily's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Interview requests, speaking invitations, messages from people around the world saying she'd inspired them. A science magazine wanted to feature her on their cover. A documentary filmmaker wanted to tell her story. But the messages that meant the most to Lily were from other young people, especially those from struggling backgrounds. "You showed me that where you come from doesn't have to limit where you're going," one message read. "My mom works 3 jobs, and I thought I could never go to college. But seeing you made me believe I could," said another. When they returned home, there was a surprise waiting. The university had organized a small reception to celebrate Lily's achievement. Students, professors, and staff filled the room. Even some of the students who had bullied Lily in her early days were there, looking genuinely impressed and ashamed of how they'd treated her. But the biggest surprise came from the university president herself. She announced that, inspired by Lily's story, the university was creating a new scholarship program specifically for children of university staff and low-income families. It would be called the Rising Stars Program, and it would identify and nurture talented students who might otherwise be overlooked. "Lily has shown us that brilliance can be found anywhere," the president said. "We should never assume we know what someone is capable of based on their circumstances. This program will ensure that we don't miss the next Lily." Rosa stood at the back of the room, watching her daughter accept congratulations from everyone. She thought about all those nights cleaning empty classrooms, never imagining that her daughter would one day be celebrated in these very halls. Life had a funny way of surprising you. Over the next few months, opportunities kept coming. Lily published more papers. She gave talks at other universities. She even appeared on a national morning show, where she talked about the importance of supporting young people from all backgrounds. But she never forgot where she came from. Every week, she volunteered at the local library, tutoring kids who reminded her of herself. She worked with schools in poor neighborhoods, encouraging students to pursue science and math. She used her platform to advocate for better funding for public education. One day, a reporter asked her, "What do you think is the secret to your success?" Lily thought about it carefully. "I don't think there's a secret," she said. "I was lucky. Lucky to be curious. Lucky to have access to a university library. Lucky to have a mother who worked hard and believed in me. Lucky that Dr. Chen saw my potential, instead of just seeing a kid who didn't belong. But there are thousands of kids out there just as smart as me who never get these chances. They're in schools without resources. Their families can't afford tutoring or special programs. They're told they're not good enough before they even get started." The reporter pressed further. "What would you say to young people who feel like they don't belong in academic spaces?" Lily smiled, thinking of her younger self sitting alone in university hallways. I'd say that feeling like you don't belong doesn't mean you actually don't belong. Some of the most important contributions to science have come from people who saw things differently because they came from different backgrounds. Your perspective matters. Your voice matters. Don't let anyone make you feel small. At 16, Lily received early acceptance to multiple prestigious doctoral programs. She chose to stay at Riverside University for her undergraduate degree, wanting to be close to her mother and to support the Rising Stars program she'd helped inspire. By 18, she'd completed her bachelor's degree and started her doctorate. Her research continued to break new ground. Tech companies sought her expertise. Other universities tried to recruit her, but Lily remained focused on her work and her mission to help others. Rosa eventually retired from cleaning, though the university offered her a position as a program coordinator for Rising Stars, helping other families navigate the challenges she'd faced. She accepted, finding joy in helping other parents who were watching their children reach for the stars. Years later, when Lily won a major international prize for her contributions to computer science, her acceptance speech brought the audience to tears. "When I was a child," she said, "I would sit in empty university classrooms, waiting for my mother to finish work. I would read problems on blackboards and dream about understanding them someday. I never imagined I'd be standing here. My mother cleaned those classrooms." And sometimes, people looked at her as if that work made her less important. But my mother taught me that no honest work is shameful. She taught me dignity. She taught me perseverance. She taught me that love and belief in someone can be more powerful than any advantage of wealth or status. This award isn't just mine. It belongs to every parent who works hard to give their children opportunities. It belongs to every teacher who sees potential in unexpected places. It belongs to every young person who feels like they don't belong but keeps trying anyway. Lily looked directly at her mother in the audience. "And it belongs to you, Mom. For everything. For believing in me even when I didn't believe in myself. For showing me that where we start doesn't determine where we finish." The auditorium erupted in applause once again. But Lily only had eyes for her mother, who was crying and smiling and clapping, just like she had in Geneva all those years ago. That night, back in their much nicer apartment now, the two of them sat together just like they used to in their old place. The furniture was better, the heating always worked, and the lights never went out. But the love was the same. "Are you happy, honey?" Rosa asked. Lily thought about her journey, the struggles, the loneliness, the fear, but also the discovery, the achievement, the ability to help others. "Yeah, Mom," she said. "I really am. Good," Rosa said simply. That's all I ever wanted. And in that moment, everything they'd been through, every challenge they'd faced, every doubt they'd overcome, it all made sense. Because they'd done it together, a cleaner and her daughter, proving that genius knows no boundaries and dreams recognize no limits. Their story became more than just a tale of one girl's success. It became a reminder that talent exists everywhere, in every community, in every family, waiting to be recognized and nurtured, and that sometimes the most extraordinary people come from the most ordinary places. If only we take the time to see them.